Ethan Thorne slammed a medical form onto my lap, his voice as cold as a steak that had been buried in a deep freezer for 3 years. Chloe, Lily's health is failing. Only your kidney can save her. Now, are you going to walk into that or yourself? Or do I have to have my security team drag you there? I picked up the paper, stared at it for 3 seconds, and then snorted so loud, it sounded like a startled pig. Ethan, honey, did you sleep through middle school biology? Why are you showing me a termination of pregnancy consent form for a kidney transplant? Also, I'm O negative and she's AB positive. You want me to give her my kidney? Are you trying to kill her on the table? Ethan froze. The brooding billionaire expression on his handsome face practically shattered. Beside him, Lily Vance, who had been lying in the hospital bed pretending to be in a coma, suddenly had a stomach growl so loud it echoed off the sterile walls. I sighed, reached into my oversized tote bag, and pulled out a massive, steaming container of extra spicy instant ramen I'd prepped with a portable heater. Look, the performance is over. You want some? It's got extra beef and soft-boiled eggs. Lily, who was supposed to be a dying waif fighting for her life over the love of a man, sat bolt upright like a Victorian ghost brought back to life by the smell of MSG. Does it have the thick sweet potato noodles? Chloe Jenkins, had transmigrated into a classic trashy soap opera novel, the kind filled with organ harvesting, forced miscarriages, and the body double trope. The system told me I had to finish the plot to go home, but it never specified how I had to play the scenes. So when Ethan leaned in, his face so gorgeous it was a crime against humanity, and grabbed my chin, I felt absolutely nothing. I was actually wondering if his foundation was oxidizing around his nose. Chloe Jenkins, I'm giving you one last chance, he hissed, every word dripping with frost. Give your kidney to Lily, or I'll make sure you never work in the city again. I blinked and pried his hand off me. Ethan, 3 things. First, a kidney transplant is a major surgery requiring extensive cross-matching. This isn't a flea market where you just pick a kidney that looks nice and cut it out. Second, our blood types don't match. If I gave her my kidney, she'd go into hyperacute rejection and die faster than a goldfish in a blender. And third, I held up the crumpled pregnancy form. Urology is on the 3rd floor. This is the maternity ward. You're in the wrong wing. Ethan's expression shifted from ruthless king of the city to completely bewildered, and finally to pure, unadulterated embarrassment. Woman, you're playing with fire, he said, finally falling back on his scripted lines. I put my hand up to stop the spell. Stop. Ethan, if you keep shouting like a dramatic teenager, you're going to wake up the girl in the next bed who's clearly faking it. Ethan followed my gaze. On the bed, Lily's eyelashes fluttered, and her stomach gave another perfectly timed gurgle. The entire luxury suite fell into a heavy, awkward silence. The air was thick with the scent of spicy beef broth. I pulled out my newbie starter pack, a gift from his system, which was basically an endless supply of high-end comfort food. I cracked open the lid, and the steam billowed out. Lily's nose twitched. She snapped her eyes open and stared at the noodles, swallowing hard. Is there any tofu skin left? I gave her a winning smile and pulled 2 extra side portions out of my bag. Plenty go around, girl. A minute later, Lily and I, 2 women who were supposed to be bitter rivals for the same man, were huddled on the edge of the hospital bed, slurping noodles like we were at a midnight college dorm party. The noodles were chewy, the beef was tender, and the broth was divine. Ethan was completely isolated. He stood there, his face darkening until he looked like a thundercloud in a $3,000 suit. He looked at his one that got away, who was currently face-deep in a plastic bowl of soup, and then at me, the replacement he was supposed to be torturing. His entire worldview was experiencing a 404 error. What are you doing? He finally roared. I picked up a piece of Spam with my chopsticks and blew on it. Eating. You have eyes, don't you? Chloe Jenkins. He looked like he wanted to flip the table, which in this case was the tray I was holding. I shielded the food instantly. Don't even think about it. Wasting food is a sin, Ethan. Lily looked up, her lips glistening with chili oil. Seriously, Ethan, this is amazing. You want a bite? Shut up. Ethan pointed at Lily, then at me, his finger literally shaking. Fine. Fine. Chloe, you just wait. This isn't over. He threw out his parting threat and stormed out. I yelled at his retreating back. Ethan, Venmo me for the food. It was $20 for the ramen plus 10 for the extras. $30 total. Don't be cheap. Ethan's back stiffened, and he started walking even faster. Well, I got back to Ethan's mansion, a house so big you could host a marathon in the hallway. The butler, Arthur, met me with a look of pure pity. Miss Jenkins, mister. Thorne has ordered that you spend the night kneeling in the courtyard to reflect on your actions. I looked outside. Sure enough, several high-powered industrial sprinklers were already set up, simulating a dramatic torrential downpour. Rich people punishments were so unimaginative. Arthur handed me an umbrella. Mr. Thorne is watching from the study window. Perhaps you should. Try to look miserable. I took the umbrella and smiled. Thanks, Arthur. I got this. I went upstairs for 5 minutes. I came back down with no tears and no sorrow. Instead, I had a folding lounge chair in my left hand, a portable charcoal grill in my right, and a backpack full of marinated skewers. Arthur stood there, jaw dropped. I sat up under the porch roof, just out of range of the artificial rain, unfolded my chair, lit the grill, and got to work. In the study, Ethan was holding a glass of scotch, looking out the massive floor-to-ceiling window at the monitor, ready to enjoy my suffering. He saw a slender figure trembling in the rain and smirked. Finally, the woman knew fear. He thought I was crying. In reality, I was just chopping onions for the garnish. The scent of cumin, chili powder, and sizzling fat soon drifted on the wind, infiltrating every corner of the mansion. The 2 burly security guards assigned to watch me kept swallowing hard. Arthur was practically vibrating. I waved them over. Guys, Arthur, don't just stand there. Come grab a burger. The guards hesitated, glanced toward the study window, and didn't move. I picked up a skewer of sizzling, perfectly charred steak. Come on, it's ribeye. You know you want it. The security guard's professional defense crumbled instantly. And so, the scene that was supposed to be my tragic, rainy penance turned into a lively midnight backyard barbecue. We were all huddled around the grill, faces greasy and happy. One of the guards even managed to find a 6-pack of beer in the guardhouse. It was incredibly wholesome. Chloe Jenkins. A furious roar shattered the peace. Ethan finally couldn't take it anymore and charged out. He looked at the group of people who were supposed to be monitoring me, now happily feasting on his lawn, and he started to shake. What is the meaning of this? Are my orders a joke to you? The guards jumped, nearly dropping their skewers. I calmly held out a slightly charred piece of corn on the cob. Ethan, calm down. Have some veggies. It's good for your blood pressure. Ethan's breath hitched. He looked like he was about to have a literal heart attack. His grand punishment plan had been downgraded to a corporate team-building exercise. He stared at me, speechless. I gave him a helpful reminder. Oh, by the way, Ethan, the groceries and charcoal cost $85. Remember to reimburse me. Ethan's lips trembled. He turned on his heel and left. He clearly couldn't stand being in his own house for another second. A few days later, Lily Vance showed up again. This time, she had a mission. Chloe, she whispered at the top of the stairs, looking troubled. My mom said if I don't nail things down with Ethan soon, she's cutting off my credit cards. I looked at her pretty, vacant face and patted her shoulder. Say no more, sis. Your problems are my problems. How do you want to play this? Lily winked at me. She told me to do that thing from the movies. I'll pretend you push me down the stairs, and then Ethan will have to swoop in and comfort me. I nodded. Understood. We're on. The 2 of us spent 10 minutes rehearsing like we were prepping for an off-Broadway play. Which way should I fall? The left side has the new rug. It's softer, I suggested helpfully. Great. I'll aim for the left. Make sure you look really mean when you do it. You got it. Just then, we heard Ethan's car pull into the driveway. Showtime. Lily took a deep breath and turned on the waterworks. Chloe, you gone too far. Aya. She let out a piercing shriek and began to gracefully wilt toward the stairs. The moment she tipped over, I performed a tactical slide, moving faster than an Olympic sprinter to the bottom of the flight. Lily landed with a thud, not on the rug, but right on top of me. I acted as a human crash pad, striking what I thought was a very heroic pose. Ethan walked in just in time to see this bizarre tableau. He froze. Lily, are you okay? He snapped out of it and rushed over. Lily scrambled off me, completely unharmed. She looked at me, her eyes filled with genuine awe. Chloe, your reflexes are insane. You're like a ninja. I stood up coolly and brushed the dust off my leggings. It's nothing. The atmosphere was incredibly awkward. Ethan looked at me, then at Lily, and his brain seemed to be overheating. To cover the absurdity of the moment, I had a sudden spark of inspiration. I grabbed Lily's hand. Music maestro. I started humming a tango beat and pulled a confused Lily into a dramatic dance right in the middle of the foyer. Forward, back, twirl, and a deep dip. There we were, 2 beautiful women, performing a high-energy, improvised dance routine in a multi-million-dollar living room. Ethan stood in the entryway, still clutching his briefcase. He watched us swaying and spinning, and for a second, he looked like he wasn't sure if he'd come home or accidentally wandered into a community theater rehearsal at an asylum. When the song ended, Lily and I stopped, both of us out of breath. Her eyes were sparkling. "Chloe, is there anything you can't do? You're a great dancer." I waved it off modestly. "Oh, stop. It's just for cardio." From that day on, Lily and I officially formed an unbreakable bond of sisterhood. Our new mission statement was simple. As long as we didn't actually make Ethan angry enough to kick us out, we could live off his dime until the end of time. Ethan had no idea. He just noticed that his fragile, delicate ex-girlfriend was looking surprisingly athletic lately. He didn't know how to handle me. Every alpha male tactic he tried just turned into a punchline. His revenge came quickly, though. He called me into his office and tossed a contract onto the mahogany desk. "Chloe, sign this." I picked it up. Service agreement. Janitorial services outsourced for Thorn Enterprises. The contractor was me. "If you want to stay in my life, you have to prove your worth," he sneered. "You'll be cleaning the restrooms at my headquarters. When you learn how to be humble and obedient, we'll talk about ending the contract." He thought it was an insult. My eyes lit up. "Does this come with health insurance? A 401k match? Are the weekends off?" Ethan choked. "Yes, I'm in." I signed it before he could change his mind. The next day, I showed up at the top floor of Thorn Enterprises in a brand new janitor's jumpsuit. My mop was my sword. My rolling cleaning cart was my mobile command center. Ethan expected to see me broken and humiliated. Instead, he saw me humming Taylor Swift songs while making every marble tile in the executive wing shine like a diamond. Where's the best place for a janitor to work? The break room. It's the intelligence hub of any corporation. Within 3 days, I knew every piece of gossip in the building. I knew which manager was having an affair with a secretary, and which director's hairline was held together by expensive hairpieces. One afternoon, Ethan was holding a high-stakes board meeting. The atmosphere was incredibly tense. The representative from the partner company was a notorious old-school grump, and the negotiations were stalling. Ethan's assistant knocked and whispered in his ear, "Sir, Miss Jenkins is outside." Ethan smirked. "Tell her to come in and refill the water pitchers." He wanted to humiliate me in front of the elite. I wheeled my little cart in. I didn't just refill the water. I glanced at the projection screen as I passed. "Oh, hey," I said casually. "On slide 3 of the deck, you spelled strategic acquisition wrong. You put an M instead of an N in acquisition." The room went dead silent. Everyone looked at the screen. I was right. The grumpy representative pushed his glasses up and looked at me. "Young lady, good eye." He was a closeted perfectionist who had been bothered by the typo for 20 minutes, but was too polite to mention it. Because of that tiny interaction, his opinion of Thorn Enterprises skyrocketed. "Mr. Thorn, your company is truly impressive. Even your maintenance staff has such a high level of attention to detail." The rest of the negotiation went smoother than silk. Ethan's face turned various shades of green and purple. He tried to make me a laughingstock, but I'd accidentally become the MVP. After the meeting, once everyone had left, Ethan called me back in, looking miserable. "The floor isn't clean. There's a spot here. And here." He pointed at the pristine, reflective floor. I didn't argue. I just handed him the mop. "Ethan, a leader shouldn't just talk. An effective CEO understands every level of his organization. Come on, I'll teach you." I grabbed his hands and positioned them on the handle. "Use your wrists. There you go. Sink into your hips. Imagine you are one with the mop." Ethan, wearing a $5,000 bespoke suit, stood there holding a damp mop bucket, looking completely lost. Just then, the door burst open. Lily Vance rushed in like a hurricane, waving a check and crying her eyes out. "It's terrible, Ethan." She held the check up, her voice cracking. "The $5 million check your mother gave me to leave you? It bounced. It's fake." Ethan's face went totally dark. On one side, he had me forcing him to mop the floor. On the other, he had Lily sobbing over a fraudulent bribe. He looked like he felt his powerful billionaire career was officially over. The fallout was intense. Ethan, in a fit of rage, canceled the credit cards his mother provided and declared he was an independent man with his own identity. His mother was furious and turned her sights on me. She demanded Ethan bring me to a prestigious high society gala, intending to let the low-class woman embarrass herself in front of all of San Francisco's elite. The gown Ethan provided for me was a 3-year-old clearance item, outdated style, drab color. He tossed it at me coldly. "Wear this. Try not to embarrass me." I took the dress and went into my room. Half an hour later, I walked out. I had cut the long skirt into a knee-length vintage cocktail dress, used a silk scarf as a trendy belt, and pinned back the sleeves to create a chic, modern silhouette. Ethan stared at me, his expression unreadable. At the gala, The room was filled with diamonds and designer labels. Ethan left me in a corner to go network, waiting for me to look awkward and out of place. But when he looked back, he saw a crowd forming around me. Lily had somehow snuck in too, and she was currently dragging me toward the seafood tower. Chloe, quick! They have Alaskan king crab and lobster tails. And so, in the middle of the most sophisticated ballroom in the city, a bizarre scene unfolded. Two women in beautiful dresses were hiding behind a massive marble pillar, each holding a giant lobster tail, eating with pure joy. Ethan's face turned green again. He walked over, intending to drag me away to introduce me to a notoriously judgmental board member, Mr. Sterling, just to watch me get insulted. Chloe, come here. I want you to meet. He didn't finish. A regal, elegantly dressed woman walked up and grabbed my hand. Oh, darling, where did you get your nails done? That diamond dust gradient is absolutely stunning. It was Mrs. Sterling. I immediately went into expert mode, putting down my crab leg. Mrs. Sterling, it's actually a DIY job. I do them myself. If you like the style, I can show you how to do it sometime. Soon, a circle of wealthy socialites had surrounded me. They weren't talking about stocks or jewelry. They were all over me. Honey, your skin is glowing. What's your routine? That lipstick shade is perfect. Is it a custom blend? I became the center of the gala. I wasn't just sharing beauty tips. I was telling hilarious stories I'd gathered from the company break room about how to spot a cheating husband based on his coffee order. The ladies were howling with laughter. Ethan and Lily stood on the outside of the circle, unable to get a word in. Ethan's face got darker and darker. He tried to pull me away, but Mrs. Sterling slapped his arm playfully. Ethan, be gentle with the girl. If you're this grumpy, you'll never keep a wife. Another woman chimed in, exactly. He doesn't have half of Chloe's charm. Lily nodded vigorously. Totally. Chloe is the best. Ethan's psyche finally snapped. He locked himself in the men's room to have a silent meltdown. I followed him and knocked on the door. Ethan, you okay in there? No answer. I spoke through the door in a comforting tone. Look, don't take it to heart. People just don't like it when you try too hard to be the boss. It's okay to be normal. There was a muffled sound from inside, like something, possibly a soap dispenser, being crushed. After a string of failures, Ethan fell into a deep state of self-doubt. His Alpha CEO handbook seemed to be broken. So, he decided to play his final card, the fake bankruptcy. This was a classic trope. The billionaire pretends to lose everything to see if the girl loves him, or for his money. He expected me to hear the news, reveal my gold-digging true self, and leave him, so he could then make a grand king's return and crush my soul. That night, he came home looking haggard, throwing himself onto the sofa. He loosened his tie, his eyes red, and his voice raspy. Chloe, the company is gone. We've lost everything. I have nothing left. He watched me out of the corner of his eye, waiting for the panic or the tears. According to the script, I should have been devastated or promised to stay by his side forever. I froze for 2 seconds. Then, I let out a deafening cheer. Are you serious? That's amazing. We finally don't have to worry about that $30 million mortgage. Ethan, I sprinted upstairs and started shouting orders. Arthur, quick, pack up that Ming Dynasty vase in the hallway and find a reputable auction house. Lily, stop crying. Get your Birkin bags together. We need to raise some cash for Ethan's bus fare back to his hometown. Security guys, don't just sit there. Take the Ferraris to the dealership and see what the Blue Book value is for a quick sale. Under my command, the entire mansion transformed from a house of mourning into a high-speed liquidation center. Ethan sat on the sofa, watching us scramble, looking completely petrified. This was not how the scene was supposed to go. I brought out a massive blue and red striped laundry bag and started stuffing Ethan's bespoke Armani suits into it. These are used, but they're high-end labels. They'll sell like crazy on eBay and Facebook Marketplace. I grabbed a stunned Ethan by the arm. Come on, don't just sit there. Moping isn't going to pay the bills. Where? Where are we going? To the night market under the bridge. We're selling hot dogs. I bought a bulk pack of Nathan's famous, low-cost, high-margin. And so, that night, a bizarre new attraction appeared at the busiest night market in the city. A man who looked like a literal Greek god, wearing a $3,000 suit, stood behind a folding table looking like his soul had left his body. Beside him, a pretty girl was shouting at the top of her lungs. Get your hot dogs here. Fresh off the grill. Hand-cooked by a former billionaire. If it's not the best dog you've ever had, it's free. Passers-by stopped to take photos. The hashtag #BrokeBillionaireHotDogs started trending on X within the hour. Ethan's face, illuminated by the glow of the propane grill, went through every color of the rainbow. Finally, he snapped. He threw down the tongs and hissed at me. Enough. I'm not bankrupt. I was just testing you. The crowd went silent. Everyone stared at us. I froze, then slowly raised my phone. You guys heard him. He admitted it. He's not broke, he's a liar. Tonight, the hot dogs are on him. Free food for everyone. The crowd erupted into thunderous cheers. Ethan stood there, absorbing the ultimate social death blow, wishing the pavement would just swallow him whole. Ethan Thorne, you are unbelievable. I stood at the mansion gates, pointing at him with righteous fury. You can insult my character, but you cannot toy with my heart. How could you lie about something as serious as losing your fortune? Lily was standing beside me with her suitcase, looking equally indignant. Yeah, you hurt Chloe, and you hurt me. We're moving out. I grabbed Lily's hand, and we walked away without looking back. Ethan stood at the door, let out a cold laugh. Fine, you'll both be back crying for help within 3 days. He was certain that 2 women as pampered as us couldn't survive an hour without his bank account. Day 1. Ethan felt like the world was finally peaceful. No one was fighting him for the TV remote, no one was bringing the smell of street food into the bedroom, and dinner was quiet. It was great, but as he ate the gourmet meal Arthur prepared, he felt like something was missing. Oh right, no one was stealing the last piece of short rib from his plate. The food tasted bland. Day 2. Ethan woke up from a nightmare in the middle of the night and reflexively reached to pull the blanket back to his side. He grabbed nothing but air. He remembered that the woman who usually rolled herself into a human burrito was gone. The night felt a little cold. Meanwhile, Lily and I were at a luxury 24-hour spa. We were wearing face masks and sipping complimentary cucumber water. Chloe, the lady who did my scrub, was so strong I think I lost 3 pounds of dead skin. It's an illusion, honey. Once we hit the buffet, it'll all come back. We took a series of glamorous photos and posted them to Instagram with a caption. Life without a man is a vacation in heaven. We blocked Ethan, of course. Ethan couldn't see it, but his all-powerful assistant could. The assistant tentatively handed his phone to Ethan. Ethan looked at the photo of us laughing and looking carefree, and he gripped the phone so hard the screen nearly cracked. The assistant added cautiously, Sir, my contact at the spa says, Miss Jenkins seems to be talking to another man. They look very happy. Ethan bolted upright. A man? What man? Is he as handsome as me? Is he richer? Actually, sir, it's a retired gym teacher. He's asking her for advice on his pickleball serve. Ethan, also, sir, Miss Jenkins has a date scheduled for tomorrow afternoon in the park. That was the final straw. Ethan couldn't sit still anymore. Get the car. We're going to catch her in the act. He imagined me on a romantic date with some sleazy guy, where he would swoop in, reveal the guy's flaws, and I would beg for his forgiveness. But reality is often weirder than fiction. When Ethan and his 2 bodyguards stormed into the park, he found me standing in the middle of a group of senior citizens. Loud, upbeat dance music was blasting from a boombox. I was currently in a high-stakes dance-off with a 70-year-old man in a tank top who had moves like Jagger. The crowd was clapping and cheering. Ethan stood on the edge of the clearing, looking like he belonged to a different species. His confrontation had turned into a community center social. Just as he was debating whether or not to step forward, a massive roar filled the air. A helicopter was hovering over the park. Suddenly, thousands of red rose petals began to rain down from the sky. The seniors were stunned. Ethan stepped forward with a smug look. This was a move he'd learned from a novel titled The CEO's Contract Sweetheart. He expected me to be moved to tears. Instead, one of the dancing grandmas slipped on the slick petals and went down hard. Ow, my hip. The petals were too many, and they were surprisingly slippery. The scene turned into chaos. I had to stop the dance-off to help mediate the medical emergency caused by his romantic gesture. Eventually, Ethan had to pay the woman $1,000 in wellness compensation. His first attempt to win me back ended in a payout. But he didn't give up. The next day, he had a truckload of gifts delivered. I opened them excitedly, expecting bags or jewelry. Instead, it was an entire library of books he thought I needed. How to Love a Billionaire, The CEO's Scapegoat Bride, and Gentle Touches from the Ruthless Executive. He told me to study them, so I could be a qualified woman for a man like him. I immediately sold the entire collection to a used bookstore for $300 and used the money to buy Lily and me Starbucks every day for a month. For his third attempt, he rented out an entire haunted house theme park attraction just for the 2 of us. He wanted me to be terrified, so I would scream and jump into his warm, protective embrace. Instead, when we walked in and a hangman NPC dropped from the ceiling, I pointed at him before he could even moan. Hey, buddy, your harness is uneven. The left strap is 2 inches longer than the right. It's a total immersion killer. A severed head rolled out of a corner. I looked at it and sighed. The fake blood is too thin. It's clearly just corn syrup and red food coloring. You need some blue and green in there for realism. By the end of the tour, I had the ghosts and zombies in tears. They were shaking my hand, saying I was the most knowledgeable guest they'd ever had. Ethan, watching from the security room, was fuming. He decided to take matters into his own hands. He put on a terrifying demon mask and lunged at me from behind curtain. I didn't even look back. I just performed a perfect shoulder throw and pinned him to the floor. Stop it. I'm trying to explain the logic of jump scares to the chainsaw guy. Ethan's mask fell off, revealing his pouting, handsome face. The books didn't say it would be like this. I pulled him up and brushed the dust off his shirt. Ethan, stop reading those garbage books. Try living in the real world for 5 minutes. He looked at me, and for the first time, he didn't argue. He seemed to realize that the real me, the one who talked back and scared the professional monsters, was way more interesting than the crying heroines in his novels. There was something different in his eyes. But before the moment could last more than 3 seconds, my phone rang. It was an unknown number. When I answered, a gravelly voice barked. Chloe Jenkins, you've been kidnapped. Lily and I were at the mall, milkshakes in hand, having a great time. Suddenly, several men in black suits grabbed us, covered our mouths, and threw us into a van. A textbook kidnapping. When we woke up, we were in a dusty, abandoned warehouse. A scarred, tough-looking guy tossed my phone in front of me. Call that billionaire of yours. Tell him we want $10 million in cash, or your toast. He tried to look menacing. I picked up the phone and sighed. Sir, calling him won't help. Why not? He's the richest man in the city. I said soulfully. He gave his own mother a fake check for $5 million. Do you really think he's going to give you $10 million in real cash? Lily added tearfully. It's true. He's so cheap. He made us sell hot dogs at the night market and try to make us pay for the permit. The kidnapper blinked. Hot dogs? The scene shifted instantly. Lily and I, the hostages, started telling the kidnapper every weird, cheap thing Ethan had ever done. From the kidney surgery mix-up to the barbecue in the rain and the fake bankruptcy. The kidnapper was hooked. He forgot he was even holding a knife. He went from being a threat to feeling pure, deep sympathy for us. Man, you girls have had it rough. He actually pulled out his phone and ordered a KFC family bucket through DoorDash for us. Here, eat something. You must be starving. Half an hour later, the warehouse doors were kicked open. Ethan charged in with a team of security guards, looking like a hero from an action movie. He expected to find us tied up and trembling in a corner. Instead, he saw the 3 of us sitting in a circle, happily sharing fried chicken and playing cards. Go fish, I said. Damn it, the kidnapper muttered. Ethan, you're here. You're the jerk who made them sell hot dogs. Ethan and his guards stood frozen at the entrance. The kidnapper stood up, spit out a chicken bone, and grabbed a nearby wooden stool. I'm going to do the world a favor and teach you some manners, you deadbeat. He swung the stool at Ethan. Without thinking, I screamed, watch out. In that split second, Ethan didn't hesitate. He lunged forward and pulled me behind him, shielding me with his body. The stool slammed into his back with a heavy thud. He groaned, but he didn't let go of me. I was pressed against his chest, smelling that familiar, clean scent of his cologne. My heart skipped a beat. The warehouse went silent. Lily and the kidnapper were stunned. Ethan held me for a moment, making sure I was okay, before turning to face the kidnapper. This time, there was no acting, no scripted lines, just cold, genuine protective fury. You can come for me, he said quietly, but you do not touch her. It was a little cheesy, sure, but my face felt strangely hot. The kidnapping crisis ended with the kidnapper actually calling the police on himself. He said his world had been rocked, and he needed some time in a quiet cell to reevaluate his life choices. The relationship between Ethan and me shifted after that. It was like he finally woke up. The first thing he did when we got home was throw his CEO handbook into the fireplace. He watched it burn with a look of pure resolve. He started trying to be a normal person. He tried to cook for me, which resulted in the kitchen being evacuated 3 times before Arthur took over. Lily became our double agent, constantly sending me updates. Chloe, Ethan is reading Cooking for Dummies. Chloe, he's practicing smiling in the mirror. He looks so dorky, LOL. Chloe, he asked what kind of flowers you like. I told him you like the kind made of money. One day, Ethan showed up without his usual 3-piece suit. He was wearing a plain white t-shirt and jeans. He asked me out. He didn't take me to a 5-star restaurant. He took me back to that same night market where we'd sold hot dogs. We sat at a greasy little table in a hole-in-the-wall soup shop. You like this stuff, right? He asked, looking a bit out of place. I did. We sat among the noisy crowd. Ethan clearly felt awkward, but he used those hands that usually signed multi-million-dollar deals, to clumsily peel garlic cloves from my dipping sauce. A few girls nearby were whispering and giggling at how handsome he was, but he didn't notice. He just focused on putting the garlic in my bowl. Chloe, he said suddenly, his voice low and serious. Was I a total idiot before? I laughed. An idiot? You were the king of the idiots. You were a one-man circus. He didn't get angry. He actually gave a self-deprecating smile. Then he looked at me with a level of sincerity I'd never seen before. Chloe, I'm not going to try to take your kidney anymore. Can I just give you my heart instead? It was so corny. It was so soap opera that I almost felt my toes curling into another dimension. But seeing his ears turn bright red from nervousness, I couldn't bring myself to laugh. I cleared my throat. Keep the heart. It's a bit messy, I said, pointing at the menu. But I want the most expensive Wagyu beef on here. Double portion. Ethan blinked, and then he laughed. It wasn't a cold, arrogant laugh. It was a clean, slightly goofy laugh. Deal, he said. In that moment, the cheap lights of the night market seemed to soften. Our relationship entered a strange, sweet honeymoon phase. Lily found her happy ending too. She announced she was dating Ethan's straight-laced, low-key sarcastic assistant. She said she loved the boring on the outside, wild on the inside type. Everything was going perfectly, until the day a piercing alarm sounded in my head. Warning, warning, plot deviation detected. Host behavior has crashed the world line. Emergency reset protocol initiated. It was the system. Before I could react, Ethan grabbed his head, a look of agony on his face. His eyes turned cold and distant. He looked at me, and that familiar, arrogant smirk returned to his lips. Woman, did you think you could actually win my heart? Don't be slap. I hit him. Hard. Ethan was stunned. He clutched his cheek, the cold CO look vanishing instantly, replaced by pure confusion and hurt. Why? Why did you hit me? I shook out my hand. Just making sure you're awake. Talk like a normal human being. Ethan immediately stood up straight, like a kid in the principal's office. Okay. Saw the system in my head went silent. Reset protocol. Failed. Unknown physical attack detected. Core logic. Corrupted. Judging. The system glitched for a long time before finally spitting out a final message. PLOT is completely trashed, but protagonist emotional levels have reached peak capacity, mostly due to anger and laughter. Mission deemed successful. HOSD may choose, return to original world. B. Stay in this world. I looked at the idiot billionaire rubbing his cheek, and then thought of Lily, my favorite eating partner. I figured, staying here to watch the show wouldn't be so bad. I chose B. The system let out a sound like static electricity and then went dead forever. The world was finally quiet. I looked at the red handprint on Ethan's face and felt a little guilty. Does it still hurt? Ethan shook his head and leaned in cautiously. No. Are you still mad? Seeing him act like a kicked puppy, I couldn't help it. I laughed. Managing a reformed alpha CEO was actually kind of fun. At least life would never be boring. Ethan's proposal was as unique as he was. He took me to a high-end restaurant, got down on one knee, and pulled out a freshly bucket sorduji hashbun. He looked at me deeply. Chloe, I know I'm not perfect, but I want to be better for you. Marry me. I stared at him. Where's the ring, Ethan? He tore the bread open. A massive diamond ring was tucked inside the warm dough. He said it represented sustenance and love. I nearly choked on the flower-covered diamond. Our wedding didn't have a tear-jerking video of our romance. Instead, I played a highlight reel I'd edited called Ethan Thorne's Greatest Social Failures. From the hospital mix-up to the rainy barbecue and the hot dog stand. The guests were laughing so hard they nearly took the roof off the hotel. Ethan, in his white tux, stood on stage with a face as red as a tomato, laughing while he pulled me close. Lily caught the bouquet and cried until her mascara ran. She said she was just happy for me. Married life continued to be a beautiful mess. Ethan completely gave up the CEO persona and spent his days trying to learn how to be a normal guy. He'd be thrilled for a week because he got a discount on groceries. He'd get jealous for a day because I looked at a handsome actor on TV. I continued my life as a professional agent of chaos, successfully turning the high-stress environment of Thorne Enterprises into a sitcom. One sunny afternoon, we were lounging on the sofa. Ethan suddenly asked, Chloe, if I had actually tried to take your kidney back then, what would you have done? I picked up a pair of tweezers from the coffee table and gave him a playful wink. Oh, that's fine. I would have just made sure you had to go to Thailand to find a sister to replace what I took from you. Ethan shuddered, wrapped his arms tightly around me, and buried his face in my neck like a giant golden retriever. I'll never bring it up again. I hugged him back and smiled. Who says transmigrating into a tragic novel means you have to be miserable? A tragic story? Not on my watch. As long as you're crazy enough, life is nothing but a comedy. Story complete.